Welcome to the J-Train Podcast. This is J-Train Jared Freid coming to you live from the quarantine cabin on the Lower East Side of Manhattan. We are here Mondays and Thursdays with your emails, your stories, your questions. I say it every episode. I got to say it one more time. Thank you. Thank you for listening. That's what this is all about. This is a user-driven situation. You listen to the show. You tell a friend, a coworker, a brother, a sister, a mama, a papa. They listen to the show. They get a little bit of laughs, a little bit of ha's, a little bit of perspective, and then they tell their mama, their sister, their brother, their papa, there's anyone with ears. We'll take them. We'll take the earless community too. Bring them in. I got subtitles on my Instagram, whatever. We will take you all. And really, a podcast is meant to let your brain sit on the shelf, let Papa JT, the Wizard of Haas, the board lord, the chairman of the board, let me take the wheel and drive you for about an hour. You rest those weary eyes. And listen, a couple announcements. I'm on YouTube, and we're getting closer. I'm going to make a big announcement. Hit the bell, Shelby. Ring that bell. Huge announcement. I am digging in. Jared, what? You're doing more? Yeah, I'm doing more free stuff. I'm digging into Bachelorette season. I think this is going to be a fun season. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be different. It's going to be awkward. So I'm going to do my live screams, and then after every episode of The Bachelorette, I will be jumping onto YouTube and doing a post-game show. I'm going to have guests. I'm going to be recapping the show. I'll be giving out awards. So go subscribe to my YouTube page because that is coming. Also, Patreon, I'm doing 3 extra bonus podcasts a week, $5 a month. $5 a month gets you 3 podcasts a week. And it's the Luxury Lounge. It's one more email. It's Coffee with J-Train. I've said it once. I'll say it a million times. Now, again, last announcement. I'm doing shows. I'm out there. I'm back, baby. It's happening. We got lots of shows. I don't know when this comes out, but let me just read you the calendar as it stands right now. And all of these are subject to change just based on what's going on in the world. So this one, let's say Providence, Dallas, Raleigh, Kansas City, Tacoma. Okay? If any of those speak to you, I want to see you and some friends at the show. Every show that I'm doing is taking social distancing into account. We want to make you feel comfortable. But every club is different, and their rules are different. Papa JT, your boy, I'm going to be masked up. I'm going to be making sure I stay safe, but I want you guys to feel comfortable. And listen, I'm bringing the laughs. I'm writing every day. I'm just trying to get the funnies out of me so I can come to your town. So, jaredfreid.com for all tickets. Very excited about today's guest. New to the podcast, but I think I'm very excited because it's going to be a great perspective that we need on this show. She is the CEO of Agape Match, and she is the host of the Ask a Matchmaker podcast. But most importantly, she is a professional matchmaker. Matchmaker Maria, thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
This is such a pleasure. And to let the audience know, I was on your show. We had a great conversation. We talked about, dating, and we answered questions from listeners, and it was just such a fantastic time. I had to have you on.
Thank you. Did you notice that I kind of trolled you a little bit on the episode name?
I loved it. It was because I'd really never. I don't know if I've ever told that story before. I wouldn't get out of the car. If you go listen, I talk about my parents wanting me to get Larry Bird's autograph. And that's what you named the show.
That's
You're like
the episode name. That episode where Jared didn't get out of the car to meet Larry Bird or something like that. Anyway.
Yeah. So I loved it, and I love telling that story. And it related to the topic at hand, I felt like.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for having me.
Of course. It is a pleasure to have you here. I want you to explain what you do, because I think when you hear matchmaker, you're not sure what that means. It's kind of like, and I would assume.
What do you envision?
I don't know. I guess I know a little bit more than most people because I have actually met with a matchmaker in my past. So I had that kind of. And I was asked by, she was a matchmaker. She's like, I'm looking to add to my roster of men.
Sure.
And it was, and I was like, but I want to speak about that as well, because generally I would assume that a matchmaker is, and we did a whole episode talking about Indian matchmaking on You Up, and we had one of the women from the show on, and I would think that the Indian version of it is different than what you're doing.
Yes. And also, Indian matchmaking is different than American matchmaking, although 40% of our revenue does come from people that are of Indian descent.
Really?
Yeah, we're really popular. We're also then like 30% Jewish and the rest is Christian or agnostic or whatever.
Well, this is the thing. In Indian culture, in Jewish culture, there is matchmaking is kind of part of it. Like, matchmaker,
it's part of the community.
Yeah, matchmaker, make me a match, find me a find, catch me a catch. This is all part of
I'm a fourth generation matchmaker, so yeah, just like my Instagram bio says.
Tell me about it. Tell me how that happens. Give me the history here, because I do genuinely want to hear about it.
Okay, so the long story, I suppose, is well, it's actually pretty short. My grandmother, her mother, and her grandmother are all matchmakers. And, prior to, let's say, 1950, it was very popular to use a matchmaker. Dating as a concept is new. Courtship was more common, not dating. Dating kind of started, I want to say, after 1980 in Europe.
So the idea of like showing up at the doorstep and asking the father for permission to, take your daughter out. That was it. That was it for a lot of communities across Europe and, even India, I suppose. But what was very popular in certain areas was having, let's say, a community leader, or, in my grandmother's case, and my grandmother's in plural, so S apostrophe. In their case, it was, they made the best coffee, and they were really good at keeping secrets. Like, they were really good at sucking in all the gossip and then making sense of it. So then when it was time to, my daughter turned 19, who should we marry her off to? They would go to my grandmother or my great-grandmother or my great-great-grandmother and be like, who do you think? And then, there's like a whole process. She'd probably bring she'd probably walk around town. We're talking about like villages now, right? Sure.
So it's a little bit more.
Where are they located at the time? Like, where are your grandmothers?
So there's a lot of history here. So great grandmother was in near the city of Izmir, or Smyrna in Greek, which is now in modern day Turkey because the borders changed. It's off the coast of Turkey. And then my great grandmother, she was a refugee in 1922. Everything shifted. And she started doing it in Kozani, which is in northern Greece. And then my grandmother did it on the island of Alonissos, which was in the Aegean.
I mean, I love that this is passed down through the generations. And like, even just what you said, like they're good secret keepers. That's a part of it.
I feel like I know too much of really important people. So like what my grandparents did too is, they got paid in goat. They got paid and they didn't get paid the way I get paid. And for them it was okay.
But they did, sorry to interrupt, but they did get paid.
They did get paid, yes.
Yeah.
And I think when I look back at, what I've learned from them through stories and just things that you kind of find, like love letters and stuff like that, or letters, like my grandmother wrote letters to my great aunt, and I've gotten my hands on those. And here she's actually talking about like, John wants to, not John, that's not our Greek name, but Yanni wants to get married to Katerina. And here's, I made this sign with my elbow to tell her to get out of the room because that's not for her, that sort of thing. So it's just very, it's very cryptic and it's like very courtship. Like, hey, this is a match and they get married in 3 months. And in New York, I'm like, let me just set up a first date. And if it goes well, I'll set you up a second date. And then if that goes well, God, I hope you get married in the next 3 years. So it's very different. Also, my grandparents worked in a homogeneous society. Like everyone was Greek. Everyone was Greek Orthodox Christian. Everyone in my grandmother's case, everyone that she was talking to survived parts of World War II. And before that, World War I. Like there's, a whole refugee crisis that happened in the 1920s. So you have like a lot of trauma bonding among communities as well.
Okay.
And in my case, my job, I have a very diverse set of clients. Like, yes, the name of my company is named after one of the Greek words for love, and agape is the ultimate one. But most of my clients are diverse.
It's cool. I think it's very cool that you're like, you're representing. You're saying this is kind of, the name of your company, Agape, this comes from history. Like I have been, this is
the measure. It's how we measure success. Aristotle said that the definition of agape is one soul's recognition of another.
Okay.
And that's like so much of parts of the love philosophy that we use. This is how we measure success. If you get to agape, like I said, there's like one of the words of love, like another word, a Greek word for love, which I'm sure you've heard is like eros, or, like how the word erotica, eroticism, right? That comes from eros, and eros is lust, love. And, the problem in English is that we're so limited to like the statement, I love you, because it doesn't depict the different stages of love. And in the Greek language, you have 5 words for love, but you have hundreds of love expressions. It's like how Eskimos have snow. Yeah. So when you fall in love with someone, that's erotiv, like that's you're falling in love. That's eros. And then the reason why most people tend to break up between month 4, 5, 6, and 7 is because eros now has to transition to agape, which is the unconditional intimacy love. And let's just face it, some relationships plateau. That's the end. They don't convert into that.
That's interesting because it is. I think a lot of people. To convert this into like today's talk, you have a lot of people that are like, "Hey, why is this guy not ready for a relationship but not breaking up with me?" Like that in between, and it's like, when you talk about it in those terms,
they're on the eros. Eros is fun. It's all the sex time and the getting to know people time. When you plateau, you plateau. It happens. No one can get away from it.
Yeah, and it's like and usually women are like, I want to move on to this next word. But also like some people want to move on to the word and don't even understand what it means. Like they just want to move on.
And because sometimes people stall from getting into the agape, they can transition to mania, which is another word for love in Greek. So mania, that's the obsessive love. Like Greek people have all these words for love, but one of those words is the negative kind of love, like that obsessive, rolling by his house at 3 a.m. to, are his lights on?
Interesting.
That's not love. That's not eros. That's not agape. That is mania. And so it's interesting to kind of like, because I speak Greek at home. So the way I'm able, and my husband happens to be Greek as well. And like the way we express, love to each other, it's a little bit more granular. I know that doesn't sound that romantic. I'm able to use different expressions to depict how I'm feeling when it comes to like this part of my emotional range. And I feel like sometimes when it comes to love, it can be limiting in English.
Well, I never thought about it until we literally just had this conversation. It's very interesting. I love the connection of like connecting because, listen, humans weren't idiots back then. They were doing things for a reason, there was a reason to everything. So it's great to like connect the old with the new. And because like when people are like, oh, dating 2020, I'm like, well, it's not that different. It's just the tools are different. You just have different, things at your disposal.
There's this one letter I found. I have to find it somewhere. But my grandmother is saying like she doesn't want to introduce these two people because that means that like he had a lot of land and so did she, and the land was adjacent. So if their land was all together, then it would have too much of the community. So like, she had to separate the land in some way and like make sure that they're not monopolizing all of the farmland between two families. And I'm just like, oh my God, my grandmother could have ran Goldman Sachs. Like,
yeah, she's a government official at that point. Yeah, that's That's crazy.
I think that's fun. I think that's great. Now, I didn't think I was going to become a matchmaker. I thought I would become a diplomat. I got a master's at NYU in global affairs, and I worked at the U.S. Embassy in Athens. But, I've always been a really good connector, and I'm able to keep secrets. And I'm just one of those people that people do like verbal diarrhea on. Yeah. Like when they meet me, like I'll give you an example. I was I happened to visit my husband at work. My husband was working at, I think like Harvard for like 7 years at the time, 6 years. Okay. And his boss like had never talked about his family life to my husband ever. He meets me, and within 5 minutes, I haven't even told him what I do for a living. Within 5 minutes, he's like, so I got divorced on this year, and now I'm dating this. I'm like, what is happening? My husband's like, I had no idea. Like just people have this. So, I just kind of learned like, oh, I can monetize this. And I was 23 when I started my company. I'm 35 now. So it's just been an interesting ride.
It has to be interesting. Also, like you and I are the same age. So like, you and I are, I would think that we're a product of, I've said this about myself, and I would say probably the same about you, that we're a product of timing. The kind of the entrance of social media into life while you're dating is you're dealing with these things. And it's like, how honest are you with other people about the emotional things you're going through while Snapchat and DMs are coming up and Instagram and swiping apps?
I feel so lucky that we are at the age that we are, because we're the same age as Mark Zuckerberg. And so we kind of had this same evolution of like, okay, we've finished high school now. Oh, now Facebook. Okay. Now like I can get this at this right age. And now we've been kind of following the natural evolution of technology, because the people that are making this technology, this particular technology, are in our age group.
Sure.
So it's been interesting then as a result to like see from like the prism of dating, like how things shift. And, since,
no, go ahead, please.
Like since the pandemic began, I've done one-on-one interviews with over 300 women. And, I hear their struggles.
Yeah.
I see what's going on even during this. Forget the fact, I've met over 10,000 people in the last 12 years for one-on-one interviews. So just seeing, So I've seen the evolution. I hear what people complain about all the time, and every year is very different. There's definitely a wave of new things coming.
I remember when there's definitely new things coming. I remember towards the end of being single, just feeling, and kind of on what you're talking about, like this scene in like Superman where he gets his super hearing and he's hearing all the voices.
Right.
I kind of had that with like just the amount of emails that I'm getting, probably similar, the same ones as you, getting the same complaints. And I'm getting them through email form. Maybe you're getting them from clients, but like, and you're like, there was a point for me where I was like, I just felt bad going on dates that weren't like maybe unromantically dishonest or honest. You know what I mean? Like,
what do you mean?
I would mean like it felt wrong to go on a date where I do think there's like a lot of illusion that you play into on a first date. That the illusion of, oh, you're the only one I'm talking to, and we're going on this first date that'll lead to a second date if we really like each other, and it will be a third date. And I know, just knowing how, having to like have honest conversations and being put in the position of hearing people's emails where they're like, I was on the third date and I thought it was so great, and I'm sitting there going, well, it was fine. Like I remember just feeling a little bit like I was like almost, I heard it too much to even go on a date that wasn't just so honestly myself. And I think that it just made it harder to be like a single person without feeling like an asshole.
Right. Yeah, I totally get what you're saying.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So I hear what you're saying
because,
when you hear all of it.
When I started, so you used to date without all this. I mean, I know you've been doing the podcast for 7 years.
Yeah.
When I moved to New York, my company, I became a matchmaker. This started, quite quickly without me even asking for it. It was just random strangers were like, I heard you do this.
How are you getting, clients at that point? You first moved to the city. Are they like, people are like, this is what she does, and is it women or men reaching out to you?
Right. I didn't know anyone in New York when I first moved to the city, but I had come from the U.S. Embassy. I was there for, almost a year. And when I moved here, I was working at this company in corporate, and I was going to school part-time at NYU. And I started this, Twitter had just come out, right? Like a year before. And I was actually on it when it launched. And I started this hashtag called NYCIR. And I even made a website, NYCIR, which was New York City International Relations. And I just used it as a way as like, so when I graduate, I can get a job in foreign service and like have this whole like network of people that work at the UN. And so I would host these parties, like, wine parties at hotel lobbies. And it would be like, within a week, like social Foursquare had just became a thing. And I was using like these, the social discovery that was starting in New York in 2008, 2009. I was using that to my advantage. But then people would be like, within 2 months, people would be like, oh, Maria, that person that works for the, let's say, Panamese consulate? And I'm like, yeah. They're like, can you set me up with her? And I'm like, who are you? And they're like, well, I'll pay you. And I'm like, okay, pay me, that sort of thing. Then someone got married. They had an oopsie baby and they got married within 3 months.
Okay.
And then that person said on the microphone, if you want to meet someone, go to Maria. She knows everyone.
Wow.
And I had just moved to the city, like, I don't know, within 8 months. Like, this was like very quick. And these 3 guys were like, all right, how much? And I'm like, okay, like, so it was just it was funny to see that sort of thing. And then my mom, being the Greek mom that she is, I'm sure she's very similar to most Greek and Indian moms. I think this is why, most Jewish and Indian moms, and I think this is why a lot of Jewish and Indian people tend to hire me, is because like Greek moms, Jewish moms, Indian moms, they're all from the same tree, just different branches. And so my mom is like, you still need to finish your graduate degree. I don't care that you're making money. And I'm like, okay, let me just get into 6-figure debt just in case.
Yeah,
but no, this ended up, now I have employees and just all this other stuff.
So how do you find people before we get to and we're going to get to the emails, jtrainpodcast@gmail.com, and everyone should go follow Maria at Matchmaker Maria on Instagram. Go right now. I love when she puts out, DMs that she's getting, and she's a big screenshotter, which is always fun to read, and she does a lot of great question and answer stuff. So at Matchmaker Maria. And so who approaches you mostly, men or women?
I think any matchmaker is getting 90% female inquiries and 10% male. My particular service, I like to sleep well at night, and I don't want to take anyone's money if I can't actually genuinely help them with a 90% success rate. That's what we calculated on. So if I can't take you,
how do you calculate that?
So there's a lot of ways to calculate it. But for men, I tend to calculate, like, okay, how many women do we have, if it's heterosexual, right? How many women do we have that fit some of the quantitative criteria? And then from there, I can start making assumptions of, like, qualitatively who will be a match. I've been doing this for so long. It's like asking a mechanic, how do you know you need a new muffler? It's like, I can tell you quickly within, usually within the first 3 weeks. At this point, any person's age or what they're looking for, I can tell you how many people I can find that fit that criteria that also want my client. And then I start doing interviews. Now, for women, matchmaking in our company is not successful. We tend to take women for coaching, and specifically like our group coaching program or one-on-one coaching, that has a 90% success rate. How do I measure success for both genders? Can I get you in a relationship in the next 3 to 6 months? So if a female did our coaching program, 90% chance she'll be in a relationship in the next 3 months.
Okay, wow. I
stand by that.
You stand by it. So And when you're coaching
40
someone,
women in relationships this year during a pandemic.
So there's somebody listening right now that's like, maybe this is the answer for me. Is there anyone you turn away? Do you say to someone?
We turn away people every day.
So what's a reason to turn someone away? What would be a thing that you'd say, hey, you need to work on other things before you come to me? Is that what it is?
So for men, I turn away men who are, you can sometimes tell if someone's really narcissistic, like they have a narcissistic nature. I understand why you turn away men completely, because it's like, are you here
to use us as a way to have sex.
Oh no, I've never had that happen. No one's
You've never had a guy like
that's
I would
never happened.
Okay, I'm just saying,
Ever.
like I would think like I would be weary of like, hey, this guy's just like
Jared,
found
I'm
a
way
way.
too expensive as a service to like
to
do that. Like
you're
that's just
easier with
not
a
even
$5 beer.
That's not even a reality that I live in. Like
Okay.
I've never had a man. Like the best thing about matchmaking is that there's a stigma. It's not like online dating. Like anyone can join, Tinder, Hinge, Bumble,
Sure.
whatever. Matchmaking, it's so stigmatized that the only men coming to me ever
They
are
want a
men
wife.
who want to get married in the next 2 years.
So these are like men that are like, I'm down. Is there, because I just know from the demographics of who listens to this podcast, it's hard
Ask
to
me why
get.
I don't take women as matchmaking clients.
Why don't you take women as matchmaking clients?
Because I don't know what happens between this amazing conversation I'll have with most women and after they pay me.
Okay.
But where a woman will say like, I want someone just like your husband, or I want someone just like Jared, or like sometimes women will like name check people and they'll say, I love guys who just like want to be supportive and be equal to me and like talk to me and, blah, blah, blah. Then once they pay him, they're like, well, he has to be at least 6 feet tall. And he has to have a full head of hair. And he has to make this much amount of money. Like they'll actually give me numbers. And I'm just like, none of this matters. Like, I mean, some things matter. Usually the things that they start limiting, they start making the goalposts narrower.
Yeah.
Those things tend to hurt them. And as a result, we had to stop taking women because it just got to a point where it was just like, I can't, even if all of them and I have are millionaires, the millionaire guy's not looking for you in the same criteria.
So, sure. So are you saying, I mean, is it the men are just more open? And is there like are the men that, cause now I'm thinking, cause at first I was like, if these men are coming to fuck, like that would be, detrimental. But now I'm thinking, I'm like, these probably are the sweetest, most genuine men that could ever be looking for someone. Yeah. But I'm saying like the type of guy you're getting is someone that's like, the most honest it could be.
Right. There are no games. There's 0 games because they're like, I just want to get married and have kids. That's it.
Yeah. Most
of my clients are 30 to 45. I love my clients. I think they're awesome. The guys that I don't want to take on, I just sell them to my competitors as leads. And that's fun. Here's what difference with men and women when it comes to matchmaking. Now, again, like our coaching program is really effective for women for different reasons. And it's why I always tell them just do coaching. It's just so much better. And it's not like, oh, I don't need help. I'm like, well, you're single and you don't want to be, let me help you in my way. Because it's not therapy. I'm not asking you questions and helping you figure it out. I'm just showing you my roadmap to get you into a relationship in the next 90 days.
For the same reason someone would be like, I'm not an apps person. You're like, well, try it for 3 months.
Exactly. So here's the thing with men. With men, I have 25,000 women in my database.
Wow.
So a man could be picky as hell. I probably have it. And then it's my job to just cheerlead for them. And hopefully get them into a relationship. And most of our guys get into relationships with their 4th or 5th match, usually in 3 months. But that's because we also calibrate. So every time you go on a date, we set up the dates.
Yeah.
Every time you go on a first date, the next day we collect feedback from both parties. And if it went well, we also set up your second date, even during COVID. So it's been interesting to see the difference in genders and how they approach dating.
Do you have, there's got to be a lot of disappointment. No?
Which way?
I guess if they have access to you, then they have access to the 25,000 people, but so there's got to be hope. And I would just if a first date doesn't go what if one says it went great and the other goes,
that happens.
But does that, how do you report that to your client? Is it hard or I don't know?
It's not. I don't think it's hard. I just pick up the phone because I get written feedback and I'll say stuff like, she had a really great time. I mean, all of our people say they had a great time. They just, they just didn't feel long-term chemistry or,
That's a great idea that'd be a great idea for a dating app if you're because so many of these first dates, it's I had a great time and now they're being weird. If there was a place that you could anonymously write to someone.
Yeah, there was this website called What Went Wrong. Back
I
in
think I remember this.
2013, yeah. And that did that. And, unfortunately, it doesn't exist anymore. I think this is why some people pay me. Some people don't even notice that they do certain things on dates.
Sure.
Look, I have learned a few things doing this for 12 years. Like, I have to judge women as if I was a man on a first date when I meet them. Mm-hmm. And I've learned if a man is not attracted to a woman, and what I mean by that is if a man within 30 seconds of meeting a woman doesn't think to himself, I could fuck her. And I don't mean she'll let me. I mean, I could physically have sex with this woman because I'm attracted to her. Sure. It does not matter how great the first date goes. It does not matter if she's perfect in every other way. If that first thought does not come out within the first 30 seconds, there is no second date. Now, if that is a yes and the date is shit, that's a hookup.
So wait, repeat that.
So if a guy says, oh, yeah, I could fuck her. And then the date just, there's a lot of misalignment in values or plans or whatever, then maybe that'll be like a hookup. Not through a matchmaker I'm talking about like everyday life. Sure.
Yeah. I totally agree with you.
Whereas with women, it's not like that. With women, with most women, like 98% of women, if she meets a guy and he's on a scale of 1 to 10, a 5, if he makes her laugh, if he asks her questions, if he compliments her on her hair or her lipstick or her mask at this point, that's it. That's a 13.
Yeah, it's skyrocket. You've done a great job. The connection is there.
And so when you know this, it's I'm not saying it's easy to do my job. I've been doing this for so long that I can almost predict at this point what the feedback is going to look like. And also, some men, and my clients are never going to admit this, but I know them better than they think they do. Yeah. Some men don't want the first match to be the best match. I have to hold on to the best match until like 3 or 4 matches in.
It's like buying the first house you see. You don't want to.
Right. It's called in economic theory, it's called the secretary problem. And so this is something that we keep in mind. It's like, oh my God, I have to hold on to this. This is the person you're going to marry, but I got to hold on to her for 6 weeks because you're just not going to trust me within the first month.
And I mean, that goes into the idea of like a guy chasing a woman when women are like, oh, he won't like you unless he chases you. And it's like, well, it's a little bit that, but it's not really that, it's more kind of just like this idea that like, well, I'm the first person I dated after my long-term relationship. Like people are weary of that, where they're like.
It's so funny you mentioned that because I've always how do you feel about that? Do you think a man needs to chase a woman? A healthy male, a secure male. I
don't think they do, but I do think a guy needs. I think a woman needs to be almost like brutally honest about what makes them happy and unhappy. And because guys will test the water, they'll push it a little bit. I think if you give a guy an inch, he'll take a mile. So the idea of like, well, he'll like me more if I just do the things he likes. I don't think that helps. I think he'll like you more if you like the things you like a lot, We are sponsored, people. The J-Train podcast is brought to you by FabFitFun. I love FabFitFun. I love it. I love that they have seasonal items. I love that you can find new stuff that maybe you wouldn't have gotten for yourself otherwise because it comes in a curated box, because you're getting to look through the website, because they're getting better prices for you than maybe the store that you're near around the block. FabFitFun gives you the opportunity to be good to yourself, and all of us need to be good to ourselves right now. FabFitFun has a new thing right now. They have the Members Picks box, and it's on sale now. Whether it's the Michael Kors Passport Wallet or a Tarte Hydrating Moisturizer, the Members Picks box is curated from the top-rated products from all their past seasons. It's the greatest hits of FabFitFun all in one box. If you haven't gotten into FabFitFun yet, this would be the time to try it. I'm looking at, so they sent me the Members Picks products, and you get to make choices. You can dance around the menu. This is like being at a great restaurant where you can go from the snacks portion to the small plates to the regulars to the sides. And I'm looking at these slippers. Woo! Woo! These slippers look so fuzzy that I could touch them on the screen. Like, I want to touch them and rub them on the screen. They're PJ Salvage faux trim cable slippers. They look like I need them right now. I'm looking at this New York Trigger backpack. This looks fall. This looks fashionable. I'm looking at the gravity-weighted sleep mask. I want it now. I want all this gravity stuff. People, I like to know that science is being involved in some of my decisions. And it's just got so much here. I'm going down the page. But the beauty of it is that it's been vetted. It has been vetted. They took a look at it. They're like, okay, these are the all-stars. This is what we're looking for. FabFitFun is great because you get an incredible selection of amazing products all in one place. Discover new favorites without leaving your home. It's time to customize your box for the fall season. Sign up today to receive your first box and join a community of over 1 million women who already are obsessed. Use coupon code JTRAIN. That's coupon code JTRAIN for $10 off your first box at fabfitfun.com. That's code JTRAIN for $10 off your first box at fabfitfun.com.
You know what the most common thing I hear from men when I ask them, like, what are you looking for for women? It's comical at this point because it always comes out of their mouth. It's the second thing. It's always the second thing. It's she should be passionate about something.
Yeah.
And her job, a hobby, whatever. And what they're basically saying is she should have a bit of an independent life of her own.
I think that's
want her to do
it's so
everything
important.
I like to do.
I'm with that 100%. I think I think also like that's generational where, a lot of women are told by their moms, like, they're given this like position of their generation. Whereas a guy, our generation is like, we've seen people go through divorce. We've seen people like get kicked to the curb. No one wants to feel like they're responsible for someone else's like true. You want a happy person to be with,
right? Because
they have their own things that they're happy with. Like, the idea of being intimidated because she has a great job and so many friends. It's like, oh, the horrors of having a night where I don't have to hang out with you. I think that I do think it's a newer thing too, though.
Right. Yeah.
So I remember I met with a matchmaker and I thought it was so interesting that like it did feel like finding guys was a part of it, because I just know with this podcast, like sometimes we have men that listen, but sometimes it's like the men are just so simple that they don't even dig into these topics enough to care. Like they're like, well, I'll find someone when I find someone.
Right.
I kind of got that feeling from her. Is it hard to find men, or is it?
So there are some services that take on female clients and it becomes an uphill battle because, it's economies of scale. You have to start recruiting for men and they're dying for men. We took women for 8 years. So I know what that feels like, and it's really tough. And, I think you asked before, like, how do I find people? Like, people find us because we're, I've worked really hard to have a good Google ranking. I have a podcast. I have a popular Instagram account. Like,
you're here
really hard.
You're here right now. This is part of finding people.
Yeah, this is part of it, right?
Sure.
Go to agapematch.com, everyone.
go. The links will be everywhere. I'll post it on my social media. I want people to go to you because I just think like I love the perspective, and I didn't think about the guys that would come to you. There's it's nice to hear. Like, I'm sure there's someone out there like, holy fucking shit, 3 months I'll have a boyfriend.
So
like,
you're a comedian and you're a podcaster, and I think you're going to appreciate the marketing advice I'm about to like give, because I think this is what works. This is what I think sets Agape Match apart from other services. Mm-hmm. So I fundamentally believe that as a professional matchmaking service where we're dealing with one-on-one people, I never want someone to feel like they're doing me a favor by going out with someone.
I appreciate that.
And so as a result, the operations of Agape Match is 100% dependent on inbound marketing. Therefore, podcast, IG, email marketing to our members, asking if, like, hey, are you currently available? The little game theory there with our current members. Like, So we're always looking for places for people to talk about us through friends, because let's face it, anytime a woman meets another woman, they always talk about the 2 Ds, dieting and dating.
Yeah,
they went on a good date through us, they're going to talk about us, and then 5 of their friends are going to sign up. So I'm not doing anything. I want our work to show getting those inbound leads. Well, now what happens with other services, and God bless them, like I have fully respect for nearly all of my colleagues in the matchmaking industry. But there's a lot of outbound marketing. They'll contact, they'll say, like you said, hey, I need more men in my roster because I don't have enough matches. Hey, can I do this? Can I do that? And it's really tough. Now, I'm not saying I don't recruit for some of my clients. Of course, I'll reach out to a colleague or a friend like, hey, if you know anyone that fits this criteria, please let me know. I'm currently vetting people. But I'm not going to start saying, hey, because this is what I notice happens when I see negative reviews to other services. They'll say, like, it felt like they were doing the matchmaker a favor. And what happens with outbound marketing is, let's say a matchmaker meets Jared Freid at a comedy club when he was single and says, hey, can I keep you in mind? Jared, you go on a date and that date doesn't go well. What are the chances you're going to go on another date through that matchmaker again?
And I'll say not at all. And I would say this, I also felt as though I was being kind of like auctioned off. Like it didn't really feel like I was being taken, heard or thought of. Like it was just like, this happens with Jews a lot. Oh, I'll find another Jew. Like you want to feel like that your thing, and again, like especially our generation, millennials want to be, we're all special snowflakes. You want to be heard. You want to be the interesting whatever you are. And it's like, it felt
manufactured.
A little bit more. Yeah, absolutely.
And so this is where like inbound comes in. So like if you had on your own heard about me and like found our website and I said, hey, I actually might have a match for you. Let me go out with you. You've already, because you're an inbound lead, because you chose on your own to sign up for our database, you're believing in the magic. Because that's what I'm selling. I'm selling hope and magic. I have no tangible product. And because you've subscribed to that magic, what I'm going to say to you is, look, I'll set you up on this date. If it goes well, fantastic. Invite me to the wedding. If it doesn't go well, if you don't feel long-term chemistry, you're going to let me know why. And then next time I have a match for you, I will set you up with that person that fits this exact criteria, because now I've learned more about you. Like I'm helping you. It's really hard to describe what I just said now to someone if I'm meeting them, on a subway platform or at an event where you weren't there to meet a matchmaker. I think intent matters too.
Oh, I mean, listen, I'll give it from a different perspective. A comedy show. We were talking before. I did a comedy show at a baseball stadium last night. People were like, "How was the show?" They all bought tickets for a comedy show. So it's going to be
ready to laugh.
They're there to laugh. They're there to have fun. They know what they have bought into. You know how many shows I've done at a bar where they turn off the basketball game and they go, okay, everybody, comedy time. And it's like, here we go. Like, who's this? And it's awful. So expectation meeting reality. It's the total same thing. Look, I want to get to the emails. I could talk for days about this. I love what you're doing. I think it's so interesting. I think anyone out there that, listen, go check out Matchmaker Maria's website, read up on it. I know the listenership here is these waters are plentiful with many a fish. So I know
and also, my Instagram, I mean, I do Ask a Matchmaker every Wednesday, like as IG stories. And I've helped, I think I've received more than 1,000, like, because of your IG stories, this and this and this. And I'm like, okay, great. So
well, you're giving also, well, I think content. Also it goes back to you're hearing the other side. You're hearing from men. You're hearing, the idea of like, if a guy goes on a first date with you and he'll fuck you. Like, it's not, the penis is a brutal dictator. Like, it doesn't really, isn't really there for the date first. So that perspective people need to hear, and they want, and you're hearing it from the other side. So it's got to be just,
and you'd also be surprised, like what, men do not all like the same thing physically. Like if there's a woman right now listening who's like, okay, I'll lose 15 pounds and then I'll start dating. Stop it. Men do not think like this at all.
I've said this on the podcast many a time. Go to any porn site.
Oh my God, I say this too. I see that on BBW.
Yeah, well, BBW, that's not even beside the point. Feet. One of the categories with a hyperlink is feet. So you are someone's foot. whatever that is, there's a guy masturbating to feet because that's
should be
what
your
he's
email
into.
signature.
youaresomeone'sfoot.com. I'm just saying, for like BBW, like
matchmaking.com. I'll
log it out. I'm not trying to insult anyone, but they literally had to create a quicker link to get to the foot faster. So whatever you are, there's a butt for every seat. Let's do some emails. We're already into this so far. I want to make sure we answer a few, but I'm so excited. Everyone go. I do think, though, I'm speaking for the audience. I hope I know them well enough to say this has got to be an interesting conversation for anyone listening. At Matchmaker Maria on Instagram. Go. Drawn out rejection. Why do guys string you along? Jared, longtime listener and YouTube subscriber, Feather. I'll get right to it. I was dating a guy for about a month and a half and things were going great. He planned a date for a Friday, which he initiated, but Friday morning he texted me that his family dog died and he was really upset and needed to cancel. I sent a quick check-in text that weekend knowing he might not respond, but trying to feel things out and make sure he was okay. He went radio silent for a week and a half and finally sent me a rejection text saying he wasn't interested in things progressing. Why would he ask for a date, cancel, ghost me for 10 days, and then finally reject me? I really thought we had potential and seemed on the same page, but if he wasn't interested, I don't get why he wouldn't just tell me in the first place. I feel strung along and can't stop thinking about whether I could have done anything differently. Any insight to help me get closure here? So what do you think?
I just want to confirm really quick. So his dog was sick.
This is the dog ate my homework of I can't do the date.
No. Was the dog sick and he had to travel?
He said they've been dating for about a month and a half. Things going great. Planned a date for a Friday. And then Friday morning he texted that his family dog died and he was really upset and needed to cancel.
Okay.
And then he went radio silent. And then it became a week and a half later, hey, I'm not into this. We should end it. She wants to know, why would he do such a thing?
Well, you were only dating a month and a half.
Yeah.
And I feel like if at 6 weeks it hasn't been, if you're not the person he's calling over his house after 6 weeks of dating on a sad day, you're not the one. So why? You should be happy he is no longer dating you.
Yeah. I mean, she says like she's mad about being strung along. I don't know when
all dating is strung along.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And also, like, you know, the dog dying, you know, I'm sure he wasn't. Yeah, I can't tell someone how upset they should be over a dog dying, but I agree with what you're saying, where it's like he would have had you over if in his time of need.
Right.
In his greatest time of need, he was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna get away from me." So also if my dog died and I was like, come over and comfort me, that to me is making this more serious than it was.
Right. So I think he just made a decision, was like, I don't want to call her over on a day that I want to be comforted. What does that say about this?
Yeah, and I think big life moments are moments where you go, do I want to be, and dog passing away is a big life moment. You get reflective. You go, oh shit, okay. In this moment, I mean, this is kind of on the same page as like,
who is your call in this moment? Who is your call?
And exactly, and that call was.
And he didn't even call you; he texted you,
and he was like, "Just get away." And I not to insult her, but I'm saying this is happening with people for when the pandemic came along and the quarantine happened. All these people are like, all of a sudden they want to break up before the quarantine or during the first week or when things had to change, and it's like. If he told you my dog passed away and he was like, I'm feeling really sad, you would say, let me come over. Let me help you out. And he would have to say yes or no. He is put at a decision-making moment. And I think like the idea of you being strung along, I don't think you were strung along as much as he's, you know, like I don't think a lot of times men are given the credit of like any emotion whatsoever. Like the idea that he was like, man, I didn't really want her to come over. We've been seeing each other a month. What does that say about what this is going to be? You know, I kind of give him the benefit of the doubt in that situation, right? I'm
concentrating more on the strung along bit because all dating is strung along. And if this is hurting you, like, well, why did he date me? Well, because the only way for someone to ever find out if there's long-term potential is to start dating you in the short term. There's just no way around dating. And if you're going to accuse people of stringing you along, like stringing you along is someone you've been dating for 6 months who has yet to commit that string along. But 6 weeks, I mean, I feel that's dating. That's
what I'm with you. You have to be careful with the words you choose. Like, because what ends up happening, and I don't want to put anything on the emailer, but what ends up happening in this situation is, well, the next guy won't string me along. And now your definition of stringing along doesn't really match.
Very limiting.
It's very limiting. And it's like, as a guy, like, who do I want to date? Do I want to date someone that's like, well, if you start, what, you haven't texted me since Tuesday and we went out on Sunday. What the fuck? I don't want to be strung along. It's like, it's one of those things that you get too caught up with, I think, and kind of hurts you for the next person.
There's no way she hasn't said this story to like 10 women already. And she's using the strung along bit. Yeah. I feel like this person sent me this DM, like a screenshot a week ago. Really? And I told her, like, I think I swear to you, like, this is a very similar question I got last week in my DM. And that's why I was like, that dog, what are the chances? Yeah. And then I had said to her, if he's thinking about traveling to California without you right now, he's not into you. Like, this is not, like, this is, I'm not saying you guys need to go on a trip. I'm saying he's using his dog's death or dog sickness as an excuse to not see you. I don't know. You could Zoom, you could FaceTime. There's like a million things you could do right now.
And also he could say, hey, this week has been really tough for me. I've spent it with family. I've spent it with, like, our family's kind of like bonding together over the dog's death. We're all doing seances over its grave, whatever. And then he could have said, Friday, I'll be ready to go out. And like at that point,
exactly.
Okay, cool. You go on the date, you feel it out. It's a month and a half. What's the difference? But he did give you the nicety of like, hey, I've gone back to the lab. I did some experiments. This isn't going to be serious for me. And I'm sorry.
I have a secret that this will maybe blow women's minds, but if a man cancels on you and he does not reschedule right then, that's it. He's not into you.
That's it. Well, yeah. And he's not into you for that level of dating.
Exactly.
And it's him. I think he's not into you in a shoulder to cry on, in an agape. Yeah. In a shoulder to cry on when I'm feeling hurt type of way. And then you can reverse it. You can go, do I want to date someone who doesn't want me to cry on their shoulder or doesn't want to cry on my shoulder that I feel I'm getting serious with? Probably not. The J-Train podcast is brought to you by Upstart. During these economically turbulent times, everyone is looking for a way to feel more financially secure. If you're still throwing money at a high-interest credit card rate every month, it's time to check out Upstart, the revolutionary lending platform that knows you're more than just your credit score. Find out how low your Upstart rate can be today. This is huge, people. This is what they call found money. This is the $20 inside the jacket pocket, but then it keeps on finding its way into your jacket pocket, because if you're paying a high interest credit card rate, if you're paying multiple credit card rates, let's combine them all into one rate and see if the Upstart rate is lower than the one you're paying. That's what you're doing. Let's play a little game here. Let's play save some money. That's what we're all looking for. So right now, this is a free way to see if there's money to be saved. Upstart is different. It goes beyond the traditional credit score. They actually reward you based on your education and job history in the form of a smarter rate. Skip the bank. It's completely online. Loans from $1,000 to $50,000. They make it fast, simple, and easy to check your rate. Since it's just a soft pull, it won't affect your credit score. The hard pull happens if you accept your rate. The best part, once the loan is approved and accepted, most people get their funds the very next business day, the next day. Over 400,000 people have used Upstart to pay off credit cards or to meet their financial goals. Free yourself from the burden of high-interest credit card debt by consolidating everything into one monthly payment with Upstart. See why Upstart has a 4.9 out of 5 rating on Trustpilot. Hurry to upstart.com/JTrain. That's upstart.com/JTrain to find out how low your Upstart rate is. Checking your rate only takes a few minutes and won't affect your credit rate. Only takes a few minutes. That's upstart.com/JTrain. Here's the part the lawyers make me say. Your loan will be determined based on your credit, income, and certain other information provided in your loan application. Not all applicants will qualify for the full amount. jtrainpodcast@gmail.com, jtrainpodcast@gmail.com. Here with Matchmaker Maria at Matchmaker Maria. Go follow right now. Ask a Matchmaker every Wednesday. Ooh, Destined to Be Alone. Are you ready? I mean, this one is so long.
Let's hear it.
Do we read it? Let's do
read it.
And she sent pictures.
Okay. Really? Tell me more about the pictures first.
She's beautiful. She's in a dress. And she sent of men. Let's see what this says. Okay. I have been on the apps for a while now and looking to meet my match. I had one serious 2-year relationship and have been going on dates since I was 18. For reference, I'm 23. So first of all,
okay,
I can feel Maria's eye roll through the Zoom. You are not destined to be alone because you're single.
You're too young.
Yeah. You're fine. I have also been meeting people in person, work, through friends, etc. But so far, I haven't had any luck. Also, referring to it as luck, what do you think of that, Maria?
I'm still stuck on the 23 thing because at 23 right now, you should be having like sex orgies and dating divorced 45-year-olds and just make that bucket list of sex escapades and dating feats just to do it. Get it out of your system so that at 27, 28, when you want to start dating seriously, you have no more regrets.
Well, also no more. I also, to like change the perspective on that, like also some knowledge about what you want. Like, I at 23, the idea of the type of person I wanted to spend my whole day with was totally different than at 28 and 30 and 35. No?
Question, and true or false, the woman that you want to date at 23 was the woman that the media sold you on.
Sure. Yeah, I think there's a bit of that, or like being comfortable enough in my own skin to be like confident to like approach the type of woman I was like looking into. So like I think the media has something to do with that, like where you're like maybe more comfortable with a certain type than another type. I think that works into it.
I've noticed like 23-year-old men, they are looking for a different person to date that is not the same person they're masturbating to.
Oh yeah, I think there's a definitely, I mean, listen, those feet guy would agree, right? They're looking at a scrunched up toe and they're like, yeah, this is I would never tell anyone about this. They'd probably say that.
Like, I just think about how sometimes people are so focused on like this model that was promised to all men when they're in high school. Like, sure, you could be as ugly as possible. She's going to love you. You know, everyone wins a woman at the end. Indiana Jones wins a woman at the end.
Well, it's and it's also like, look at the King of Queens. Like, look at every sitcom. Like, the idea that you could be some schlub and they'll see the glitter in your eye. But let me go.
But that's a very 23-year-old idea.
Yeah,
anyway, go ahead.
I
keep going. Right. I want to hear about this woman who's not destined to be alone, but continue.
Okay, so from work, we last summer to June 2019 into October 2019, a guy from work, we are waiters part-time, showed an interest in me and we dated until early October. The problem with this was that he was graduating senior and I was in my first year at graduate school, so he was going to move away to Chicago, so I ended things in October. Fast forward to November 2019, I started going on dates again. I met this nice guy who seemed cool, but he ended up having a bad profession. He was a drug dealer, don't judge. He was really nice and we became exclusive and would take me out in the city and would have me over his apartment all the time, and I even met all his friends in the area. He was very upfront and honest with me, but I walked out of the situationship a few times because I was too anxious about him being a drug dealer. Another thing was that I asked him to get STD tested, which he did not do, which did not add him up to my standard. This ended on January 9th, since November 23rd. Then the quarantine hit, and he was trying to resurface. I could tell he was doing this just to entertain him. Fast forward to May, June, July. We hung out a few times, went on a walk, went to a fancy dinner, and he came over to my house. I finally grew tired of experiencing all the anxiety of not having him replying to me and found out he was casually seeing another girl, so I ended things.
Duh.
Then in early January, then in early July, a guy messaged me on Instagram from my town, and I thought I would give him a shot. Things were great, but after 1.5 months of hanging out, he started to shut me out emotionally, and we weren't seeing each other as often as before, 2 to 3 times a week. Yet he was seeing his guy friends and family every day. We had a serious discussion about this, and he couldn't reach my standard of seeing me twice a week or letting me in emotionally. I learned a lot from these 3 situationships, and I'm grateful they happened. Since these 3 situationships, I have been continuing to talk to people on dating apps, going on dates, and asking friends and family for any people they know who are single. The last guy I FaceTimed and went on 2 dates with did not shower on our second date, and was trying to cuddle with me, which was gross. My question to you, Jared, is how can I find my match and pick better guys to spend my time with that match my standard? I know you talk about taste, and I have been developing that. I have learned to cut people slack because I'm not perfect, and you need to be understanding of people's lives. But I feel like at the end of the day, only you can choose what you are willing to face in a relationship. I will match with guys on Hinge. They will message, but it will continue on very slowly. Or the ones I don't find attractive will continually message me, and I lose interest and don't really want to hang out with them. I have tried to take my number. Let's do drinks sometime after chatting with a guy, but that has been difficult to have anything come of that because these guys either stop replying or the ones I don't find attractive ask to hang out. It's kind of hard to date someone you don't want to kiss. Is there a better approach I should be taking to dating? I attach pictures of what I look like. I also attach some of the pictures of the guys that I'm attracted to, but who take a while to respond to my messages on Hinge. I know I'm smart, pretty funny, and I am finding it hard to find a good match. Please help. Any advice would be helpful. So
much advice. How do we break this down?
So I'm actually happy we read this one with you being on the show, because I feel like this sounds like a message a matchmaker would get.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. This is my inbox.
I mean, this sounds like, because some of mine are fun. Let's
break it down.
Please break it down, because I'm looking at a picture of her and she's gorgeous. Let me just start by saying that. But again, back to looks. It doesn't matter, but I'm saying, like, she should have no issue getting matches on dating apps. Now she's sending me the guys she thinks are cute on the apps. Yeah, they look like good-looking dudes.
There's so much more to...
Yeah, so okay. I understand, but go ahead.
All right, so let me just preface this by a lot of what I do is looking for long-term compatibility, but the product is judged on initial chemistry. And for whatever reason, sometimes, especially young women, they want the 100% chemistry right away. And that long-term compatibility, you want that at 100%. And that short-term chemistry, it's okay to be at 70%. So whenever someone is, especially a woman, sending you photos of what a guy looks like, to me, that's a red flag. Because like I said before, like physical compatibility, obviously it's really important, but I think with women, they can be a lot more flexible on certain things if other things are being met. Now, in terms of compatibility, there are 5 ways that I believe you can be compatible to someone. Of course, there's always a miscellaneous, subject, but those is financial, intellectual, emotional, physical, and spiritual. And it seems like this particular person has really focused on the physical. She's not, in no part in her letter has she ever talked about her values, her 3-year plan, her 5-year plan. She tells us don't judge a person who, let's face it, is a drug dealer. Like, this person has chosen a very risky job. And so forget the illegality of it. Do you want to date someone who has a risky job? And also, like, what the complications that come with that. There's a type of personality that's attracted to those kinds of positions, those kinds of jobs. And as a result, they're going to be a particular kind of boyfriend or partner. It's interesting that she calls them situationships, which is exactly what they are. But at the same time, I don't think she gives herself enough credit. So for instance, when she says, I want to get an STD check and he didn't, well, I assume you still had sex with them then. So if you want a guy to have an STD check, and every single person listening should absolutely have STD checks before you engage with anyone you're having sex with, especially if you're dating someone, it's not hard. You say to him, hey, I really want to have sex with you. We both have to get an STD check. How about we do it on Saturday? Afterwards, you go for an ice cream cone. That's all you got to do. And if a guy says no, guess what? He is not interested in your feelings. He's not interested in your well-being. He's not interested in your safety. Yeah. And you're still going to open, and you're still going to have sex with him. Like, you're just letting him get away with How, you teach people how to treat you, and you're letting them get away with something.
That's the thing. She's using a lot of the words that I've used on this podcast, but like sometimes those are just words. That's like she says, match my standard. When I a lot of times I say they gotta live up to your standard, but she's using the words, but not really using the practice. Like what you're saying, it's like get an STD test, and he's like, oh, I haven't, and you have had sex with him, or maybe you're still even talking to that person. Like, no, that's you're living below your standard at that point, whether you're saying it or not. But again, we can all make mistakes and go back and rectify them, which it sounds like she's done. Fine. There's another thing she writes. The last guy I FaceTimed and went on 2 dates with did not shower on our second date.
Why does that matter?
Well, was trying to cuddle me, which was gross.
Why are you cuddling anyone?
Why are you cuddling? Yeah, exactly. This is the thing. Like, why are you cuddling with the guy on the second date that you're not really sure of and not having a great time with, and they smell bad and they didn't shower? Like at that point, how'd you get it? Why are you blaming him for this? That's just over. Like again, like it kind of feels like you're backtracking standards. Like
it kind of feels like she's dating through loneliness and not dating just to date.
Yeah, and none of this sounds fun. None of this, she's 23 and you talked about like, go out, have sex, date a 45-year-old. Like, listen, that just goes under the category of enjoying yourself. None of this sounds enjoyable to me at all. How can I find my match, pick better guys to spend my time with? Like, why aren't you spending time with your friends? Why aren't you're 23. Where are your friends? And I think this goes back to what are guys interested? Guys are interested in a woman with a full life. Where, I got my friends over here and my friends over there. I don't want to go on a date with someone that's like, well, you kept talking to me on Hinge and you did all the right things and you checked a couple boxes. Like, no, this is a recipe. This is a weird mix that makes you connected to someone.
This is where people confuse the verb chasing. So I asked you before, like, what do you believe in that? And what I think what chasing is if you want a guy to chase you, have a full life. And what he's not chasing you. He's chasing for just an hour in your calendar to spend time with someone who's awesome.
Let's work this out. You're not free Tuesday. I'm free Wednesday. You're not free Wednesday. How about Thursday? Like, let's figure it out. That is, and I got my friends from wherever. My friends from work that I work with are going to be over. I can't do that night. That's a powerful thing.
She also mentioned how she said, I've told my friends if they know any single men, never do this. Anytime you ask a man, hey, because I did this. I didn't say that. I said something else. I said this to you last time I talked to you, how I met my husband. I never went to my husband's guy friends and said, set me up with your single friends. No, they were never going to do it. They're going to be like, all of my guy friends are assholes. Pass. Instead, I just said to my guy friends, our mutual guy friends, I said, hey, next time you go out for drinks with your friends, can you invite me?
Well, invite me. That's also having friends that want to hang out with you.
Right.
And then when you say, do you know anyone single? None of that it conveys to me that you have any taste at all. Being single is the number one thing you're asking about. If you said to me, what's the deal with Barata? What's the deal with your friend Frank? Or what's the deal with John? I would go, oh, and then I would give an answer that's like, oh, they're this way. No, they're not you know what I mean? That's how, and it's like this all happens from, and I know it seems to her, I would sure this seems like anti-productive. It starts from a place of, are you enjoying yourself with your friends? That's where most relationships come from. You're enjoying yourself with your friends. You're going out. You're creating weekends. You're having lunches. You're doing dinners. And you're creating real relationships where someone knows you so well that they're like, oh, that when they're hanging out with some guy and their boyfriend's friends, they know you so well that they're like, they almost become a recommendation because you're close with them, that they're close with the other. It becomes... And I know to her, it sounds like she's going the so opposite way that she's almost making it harder on herself and getting defeated by it. No?
I mean, I wish you could see her online dating profile. If it's so much focus on photos and here's what I'm looking for. That's tough. Like, that's rough.
Yeah,
Like, I don't understand the purpose also of, I've met thousands of women. I've literally interviewed something like 8,000 women. Okay. I can only think of one time. Yeah, one time a woman sending me photos of a man saying, this is my type.
One time.
Just one time. Sometimes they'll describe, like, I'm more attracted to this guy physically, but they'll never send me photos.
Well, that's the thing. Like, I'm so mad I'm getting messages from all these guys I'm not attracted to. And it's like, okay, I know they're repeating messages to you because, and like, at that point, like, are you even answering? I'm not saying you should answer someone you're not attracted to, but I'm saying, like, your number one complaint can't be like, I'm getting all these messages, but they're all just duds. I just forwarded you the email so you can take a look. But I understand where she's coming from. I don't think she's crazy for sending this email, but I think the perception I think her perspective needs to change, and hearing it from you might help be very helpful. Just to hear, like, yeah, this is a very matchmakery email, and her perspective just seems off.
Okay, first of all, she's very pretty.
Yes.
I love that she included, so she included the guys' photos, and it includes their height, where they live, and what they do for a living. I guess, like, that's like how, I don't know what app she's using here. They're both men over 5'10". It seems like she's out of just based on, these guys. Well,
I don't want to give away. I don't want to give. Yeah. I don't want to give away. We'll bleep
these
that
guys
out.
Live in the suburbs of. Anyway, she's pretty. I think the kind of guys, like, one of them is a doctor.
Yeah, well, this is the thing. Like, she's got a very specific thing in mind, and it's like, also, if I was in a position where I was a doctor in a nice area, and this, a 23-year-old's like reaching out to me, not, it would just come across wrong to me. Like, it wouldn't. I think, like, again, none of this is fun. And I understand she's upset. She wants to meet a guy. I get it. That will happen. Both you and I believe that. It's just, do you want the right guy or do you want any guy?
I think the advice that I would give to her, since it seems like she does go out and about, is to create a social calendar where you go out 2 times a week, specifically to meet people. And your job is to just meet 2 new people, man or woman, it doesn't matter. There's an opportunity in everyone. But your job is, for the next 3 months, just go out 2 times a week. Block out your calendar right now. The next 3 months, Tuesdays and Thursdays, Mondays and Fridays, I don't care. Those 2 nights are meant to go check out a comedian at an open mic or, like, open air stadium. Have fun
doing something. Exactly.
But you're also responsible for meeting at least 2 new people, and you're by yourself. You go with a girlfriend, but go with a girlfriend who knows what the plan is. Well, I'm here to, meet at least 2 people. I have to talk to 2 people I didn't know before. And as a result, you start building this social aptitude, but also social life.
Yeah.
You will make new friends. You will meet someone this way. Apps are easy, but they're also easy to get very disappointed.
Well, that's the thing. There's more messages, more
Dating
disappointment.
Fatigue. That's what she's describing.
It feels very fatigue, and I think also she's got to figure out, where are my real relationships, and I think that goes in, like, again, that's probably going into the reason that she's telling us her standard but not really abiding by it. She, understanding your true friends and family and how those relationship works takes time. Like, my good friends, I look at those relationships now and I'm like, man, those have evolved. I have an understanding of what I want to feel like from the people I hang out with. That takes time, and I think she's trying to rush along the process.
I want to just give her one online dating tip.
Go.
So in both photos she sent you, her mouth is closed. And in one photo, she's doing that pose where, you see her butt and she's
got her back
away.
to the camera. Yeah, it is very much check this butt out.
Right. Take that photo away.
Okay.
And your main photo should be of you looking into the camera, colorful and smiling. I need to see your teeth. Your second photo should be a full body shot, but not that shot. That shot is this is what I look like when you're from behind.
Yeah. And
I want you instead, that's cute dress, but maybe be in front of your porch. Like, you want a nice doctor from a good university. That guy is dating the girl with the nice, nap dress in front of a porch.
Yeah. And also smiling. I couldn't agree with you more. Just the idea, like, are you fun or are you here to be angry
contrived.
At me? Like,
it looks contrived.
It looks very model-esque, and a photographer told you what to do.
Right.
Matchmaker Maria, thank you so much. This was fantastic.
Thank you for having me, Jared.
Of course. I think everyone's going to... I'm excited about this episode. I think there's so much to get from it, and so much... There's juice to this fruit. Go follow Matchmaker Maria at Matchmaker Maria. It's Agape Match. And it's called Ask a Matchmaker. This is all stuff that'll be on my social media. I'll be pushing it out as this episode comes out. Thank you so much. So fantastic. I'm Jared Freid. We're here every Monday and Thursday. Keep spreading the word. Go, go, go. JaredFreid.com for tickets to shows. We'll be back next episode. Boom. Don't forget to like the video you just watched. I have many more. Subscribe to the channel right now. Like and subscribe, like and subscribe, like and subscribe, you fool. There's even a bell you can click to. Now you've got your week set Monday through Friday. I'm here for you.